Hello my friends, welcome to a brand new wildlife video. Today is going to be a video that I didn't do an outro for, or an intro for, excuse me, but I thought I would do a little live commentary on the current edit I have. I've deliberately done this edit a little bit more loose because I want to see how it does on the channel. I wanted to see how this video really does, so I'm going to try this post-edit kind of voiceover just to see, talking through what happens, what's going on. So this video was filmed at Langford Lakes in early May, and around this time I had kind of just realised that it was a lot easier to film wildlife, track wildlife, etc. when using my EVF on the GH5. So this video basically starts with us heading over to the first lake. It's on a very, very misty morning. Normally when we do these kind of shoots, we're there from about 7 in the morning through till about sometimes 10, sometimes 11, sometimes 12, because we just find that that's kind of the best time. We're normally in the first couple of hours we are alone at the lakes, which means we can basically have the lakes to ourselves, which is really, really nice. Here I'm just grabbing a kind of opening shot because it was very atmospheric, very misty. This is going to be part of a larger project that we're doing in partnership with the Wildlife Trust as well. One of the quick benefits quickly is on the tripod that I do use, as you can see here. It's really, really great because it can go up and down in that respect as well. So this kind of then wraps up, and then we head over towards the top end lake. And I think I end up saying, yeah, I see end up pheasant, so still capturing in the mist, etc. In that regard. I don't know whether I actually use this mist in the final, or these misty shots in the final edit, because a lot of the other keeping shots that I've got have been when the lakes have been more sunny. I've also, in a vlog that you'll probably see in the next coming weeks as well, I managed to get a kingfisher, and those who've been following the YouTube side of things, or the social media side of things, you will know that I actually got one, which is lovely. We saw 20 seconds of this lovely male kingfisher, but at the time of recording the voiceover for this, we just got back and we're heading over tomorrow as well. So just moving back to the footage, again this is the top lake, very, very misty. Just getting some establishes, something I'm trying to do. I thought I would get some establishes here on the 70mm, because I knew that I probably wouldn't be on or get these conditions again at the lake, so I thought it would be a great plan to just get some establishes just what I could while I had the tripod there. Obviously for establishes you would more likely look to use something a lot wider, like I do later on in this video when the sun actually does come out. You know, you're looking about more full frame, about 16mm there or thereabouts, to really show that scene. Wasn't a lot of wildlife at this time because of the mist and because it was quite cold, I think, as well. So we ended up not really getting much at the beginning, but something I've found as well is having this kind of hybrid shooting mode where I can go from the screen to the EVF to the screen to the EVF has been really, really helpful to allow me to firstly track, but also give some other muscles in my back and some of the muscles in my arms a little bit of a rest as well, because shooting on long days or shooting on specifically, you know, 7 to 8 hour days, if you're doing 7 till kind of, you know, 12, 1 o'clock, it can be very, very tiring on your back when you're rigging and kind of carrying the camera rig around as well. As you'll see on the top of the camera as well, we have a Rode Link system, which is the microphone system, going into a Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. In that respect as well. Something I've been trying to do for the little wildlife shorts that we've been doing has been actually add in some sound effects in that regard, but also some of the time you don't necessarily need to have an animal moving. So in this case, obviously we've got mallard duck. There wasn't a lot of necessarily wildlife at the beginning of this shoot, but as we progress it did move forward, and it did get a little bit busier as well. So I've tried to kind of cut down where possible. Then we had a couple of the ducks moving, so obviously I'm cropping in and trying to capture that motion a little bit more. But I would be interested in hearing your guys' thoughts, those who have been watching the wildlife vlogs, to see sort of, do you prefer this rougher, this rawer cut with this kind of voiceover-esque interview, that kind of thing, or do you just prefer the kind of on-set, behind-the-scenes I've also got a vlog coming up as well from a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording this voiceover, where I won't be having as much behind the scenes footage because I had a little bit of a drama with some SD cards that I'll save for that episode, but that'll be again a different kind once again. So I'll be interested, and I'm still playing around with the formats on these wildlife vlogs as well, so any feedback would be incredible. So in that regard, we just got some coots and some ducks at the start of this season, and basically at this point it's probably about 8-9 o'clock, somewhere around there, and we're just basically trying to wait for the mist to sort of die down a bit. I was also trying to capture a lot on this shoot the behaviour between the coots and the ducks, where from my understanding, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding the coots are trying to protect their nest or protect what they feel is their territory, so they kind of charge at the ducks or etc, and then the ducks are like, no, F that, see you later, in that regard as well. So as you can see here, we're just following a coot around. This was actually the perch which I ended up getting the kingfisher on a little bit later on, that you'll see, as I say, in 1 or 2 vlogs time from the lake, so that's pretty awesome, pretty fun. It's just nice to sit and sometimes watch the wildlife as it sits, and kind of just as it's just doing its thing. And you know, I've personally found it very, very interesting for to an extent my mental health, obviously, but also very kind of calming, and it's able to build that strength when it comes to your overall patience as well. So obviously this coot's just been had a little wash. Something I've also tried to do when filming like this as well is, if I'm like locked off on an animal or etc, like I try not necessarily to move the camera once it's composed, because I've found that sometimes if your camera movement is not necessarily on point or not as smooth as you would like, it can be distracting to what the animal's actually doing. So for me, sometimes the best shots are actually stuff like this, where it's just more locked off, and of course it gives you an opportunity to take the opportunity to have a drink of coffee, chill out a bit, etc. And just as we're talking about that, you know, things to be aware of. You know, what are you wearing? How cold is it planning to be? What I found also, especially in the hide that we're in at the moment, is that even though it may be sunny and it looks really warm at the time of filming, or in the morning that you go up there, the actual hide will become a lot colder, because when you've got all the windows open, the wind will blow through, but you won't have the sun necessarily. So this was just me explaining to camera that a heron. Is he gonna land? If he's gonna land, I'll do this later. Okay, he has. I'll see you in a minute. And then he landed, and I was able to capture him as well. And I followed him around a little bit as well. And they're massive birds, herons. Haven't actually had one. I believe we were told a couple of times ago when we were there. We were told by a lovely photographer who was talking a little bit about their eating habits, and they ended up eating some pike. Would love to get some shots, obviously, of the heron eating pike, but haven't managed to achieve those as of yet. But they ended up just chilling out in the reeds. Here I noticed that there was, I believe it was a heron in the sky, and herons are great if you can capture them as they fly away, but it wasn't exactly easy, and this is some of the behaviour that I was talking about from the coot, as they kind of, I believe it's a protecting behaviour. I believe this was a male coot, again correct me if I'm wrong, but chasing off that mallard to basically say, yo, I've got a nest over here, I've got family over here, I recommend you go away and leave me well alone. As you can see here, the mallard isn't having any of it. I believe there's a female mallard, and she's running away. So there we are. Followed this coop for quite a bit actually, because I wasn't 100% sure where their nest was, so I just liked, she was actually in the process of, I think, building the nest at the time of filming, and I think, as you'll see in a moment, I think she's looking for bits of reeds to take back to then build her nest as well. So that's what she was doing over there. I think I wasn't 100% happy with the first shot I got when the coop was washing, and obviously I got the wing flap, which was really nice, but I try to, if I can, get a little bit more coverage doing a project like this, because yeah, maybe some of the washing stuff you can reshoot, but if you don't need to, then it's always better to get more in that perspective. And here we have beautiful mute swan that wanted to take off, and I got this beautiful shot of it flying away. It was actually a lot faster than I planned it to be, so it's not perfect, but definitely enough to be able to help tell that story that we're looking for. And here's a bit of random footage as well, just this one, just stretching out its wings. Really shows how big their wings actually are. And ideally, I wouldn't really want to be in a fight with this one. They can be quite vicious, from what we know. Most likely protecting the nest in that respect. And there she goes, she's having a little wash in that regard as well. And we're back with our coot friend, so that's amazing. I think this was the moment where I realised that the coot itself was looking for reeds and etc. to start building its nest, because as I say, this was around the start of May, so from my understanding, he or she, they, I believe it, I'm not 100% sure which gender necessarily built the nest, but they were looking for reeds to help build the nest, and it should, in theory, be around this time that they were just finishing off the nest, because at the time of recording this voiceover, I've just come back from the lakes this morning, and the baby coots were out and fledged and was a thing, and I believe this is an egret flying away, which is lovely to see. Again, they were also active today, and then we decided that we had kind of had enough of this top lake, so we headed out and headed further down, where we were wonderfully able to stumble accidentally upon some baby Canadian geese that were heading down to one of the other lakes. So this is very cute, and this will work really nicely for what I believe will be in the final edit, which will be I got some Canadian geese nesting, and then obviously I've got these shots here, which are the Canadian gooses, or the small Canadian gooses going off into the lake as well, and as they sort of grow up a little bit more, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will be able to capture them when they're kind of teenage area as well, because I'm trying to tell that story in that regard as well. So this was super cute. And again, here I'm shooting through the EVF rather than the screen, just because the glare on the screen, all I'm seeing is reflections, so the actual EVF allows me to track a lot easier. And then we pop up into the hide that overlooks I believe it's the kingfisher hide, or where they were actually going into that hide, and then we catch up with them again a little bit later. So as you can see here, they're on the opposite side of the reed bed, and I believe in a couple of minutes time we'll also be looking at some herons and some cormorants on this lake as well, which we've seen quite a few of actually, to be fair, but unfortunately, because I'm shooting on a tele-extended 70-300, the equivalent would be 140 to 600mm, it's still not, the range on that lens is not quite far enough. Hence why I'm looking to purchase basically what would be a normal wildlife lens, but then I'm going to 2 times extending. Obviously you'll lose that aperture when you do that, but I'll be looking to 2 times extend a 150 to 600, which will then make it an equivalent of 300mm to 1200mm. So it should give me the range to be able to get to the opposite side of the lake when shooting from this height, which will be lovely. In that respect as well. So here we are with the heron. Beautiful reflection though when you are this wide, and if I recall correctly, we also get some flight shots in a little bit as well, which is very lovely. And I'm going to probably move it around when I do the final edit, but I also got some images that you'll see here, but also a different heron, I believe, on a little bit further down on the lake, came into land. So something that you should always try and do when, in my opinion at least, in the research I've done and the understanding I have of wildlife photography, but in general in any filmmaking, you should really look to create that story. So whenever I am creating that, there we go, we're just leaving, is I'm always waiting around for these birds to potentially fly off in a direction, and in this case he tries to fly into a different area of the back of the lake, and then goes into the reed bed, which he sits there for a while. But whenever I do one of these films, I try to specifically, or when I work on something like this, I'm trying to get a full story. So ideally you would have a heron coming in and landing, sitting there, potentially doing something, whether it's fishing or etc., which I unfortunately haven't got yet, and then flying off as well. Something I did get also is a cormorant, from my understanding, can't really fly when it has wet wings. So what will happen in the middle of that story will be a cormorant drying its wings. So here's the cormorant just now, just popping up its head fishing because it was trying to find some food by the looks of it, and then just going up and down, and then we go back to the heron flying off, and this will probably be the end of the heron sequence that I do on this lake. As you can see here, it flies off and leaves us. I think it was actually heading up to the very top lake in that perspective. And then we had also noticed some more interesting behaviour at the time and on a couple of trips before this, but also this trip as well, where this swan had obviously had a nest roughly around this area. We're not 100% sure where that is, and it didn't really like the fact that Canadian geese were around. So this was unfortunately quite an anticlimactic version, but here is the heron flying in and landing, so that will work quite nicely, even though with some filmmaking magic we know they're not the same bird necessarily in regards to the actual animal, but it will be close enough where I should be able to make it work in regards to the actual film, so that's great. But yeah, just that protecting kind of behaviour from the swan there. Clearly doesn't like Canadian geese. And then I also got this one flying off as well. One thing when you're shooting in hides, they're obviously between the windows. That little black kind of out of focus bar that I got is basically when the lens gets to that physical barrier. And maybe reason why I want to put this in is I want to show how large the Canadian goose's wings are. So that was pretty awesome. And then we got the cormorant shot, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, I wish I kind of had a longer lens to get this shot, but I'll probably go back when and if I do have a longer lens and get an equivalent shot, because you would want to fill the frame here. This would be a beautiful wide, but because they're on the opposite side of the lake to me, it's quite difficult to necessarily fill that frame without cropping heavily, which of course you will lose quality in doing so. But the cormorant is just drying off its wings because it had a full belly, finished fishing, and I imagine was looking to fly off and leave at some point. And I have had a couple of the cormorants flying around on the other lakes as well. So when it comes to doing the final edit for this film, which will be probably towards the end of the summer, it's going to be a lot of footage that we will have to piece that story together in. Then we move to different hides. We check out a couple of others. We then split up because my partner, who I do most of the trips with, wanted to go shoot some bugs, so she went to shoot some bugs, and I went into where I knew there was a grated crested grebe, but I ended up finding a heron in a box. Shortly after that, the man himself appeared and actually came quite close to me, which I was quite chuffed about. Unfortunately, one of the dream shots that it's now too late in the year for, unfortunately, is obviously the mating behaviour, which from my understanding is when two great crested grebes dive for some seaweed, and then I believe the male gives the seaweed as a gift to the female as well. So yeah, that unfortunately will be having to be next season that we'll have to get that in a world where we come back, which I'm sure we will. I was also lucky enough though for the great crested grebe for a little bit to come a little bit closer to me, so this is about as full frame as I can get with the 600mm equivalent. Obviously you are going to limit your quality of your lens and the sharpness of your lens by extending it ×2, but I think it's probably worth it, the extra range. I mean, this is quite a cheap setup. The extender itself is about 50 quid, and the lens itself is only about 70. And this shot was only added in because in a moment I believe the heron will be leaving. There we go, heron's leaving, and then I basically say bye to that hide and I pop up to, I believe it's the kingfisher hide. Oh no, it's the top end hide, and I end up getting a couple of red kites who end up flying on thermals, I believe, because they're climbing, and they're looking for food up the top end. So I think this was about 1 o'clock there or thereabouts, and if I do get any of these species wrong, do apologise, do let me know in the comment section down below. And this was towards the end of my Pacific session regarding film wildlife specifically, and we will be ending that wildlife session soon and then rigging up the camera to film the establishing shots for the actual main film, which is obviously the signage and the lakes itself. So I filmed this lovely, I think it was a hobby or a kestrel that decided to hover for a little bit and then fly around. So there's a couple of birds of prey up that end as well. Not 100% sure what this bird was. We've got that one quite close. Got this one flying around. I think this was a kestrel, I want to say, but I might be wrong. Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Might be a red kite actually, looking at the wingspan, but that's lovely. Got this beautiful 600mm because he went around in a circle. Really, really helped, and he just got too high for the window I was shooting through. And then this heron decided that he would come in and land in the reeds on the right side of the top lake if you're just entering that hide. So got him flying around. It's nice to get these little insert shots of herons flying around, and I think the same heron ended up going into the field and then also leaving. We were basically leaving, we turned around, we saw him. My partner wanted to get closer, so she went that way, and then I think eventually scared the heron off, unfortunately. And then we had a red kite just on the path a little bit further down as well, so we filmed that for a little bit. Came really, really low, really, really nice. And then eventually he ended up flying away. And then I think I ended up then basically calling it quits on the wildlife filming for that perspective, and then I started rigging up. Yeah, so I started rigging up the gimbal. I started then building the gimbal, and this is when I realized that I broke the friction arm. I hope you're having a good day. So just packed up the camera we were shooting on, so everything's in pieces. Fun fact, the arm I usually use to attach the GoPro to the camera has decided to break, probably because I put it into a CNC machine 2-3 days ago and it's probably got sawdust in it, so either I need to buy a new one or I need to fix it. So we're probably going to have to tape you to the camera today and tomorrow. But I'm now going to do the opening establishing shots on the gimbal. I've just rigged the camera, as you would have seen before everything broke. So that's what I'm going to do now. I will find a way to rig you to do BTS, but if it's a weird angle, that'll be why.
Peace.
And after this, we're now rigged out on the gimbal. So this was what I was referring to earlier when I said about those opening shots. So we're now just jumping on to get kind of welcome to Langford Lakes. I think I do a push in down to the reveal of this first lake as well, as you can see here. And then I did a couple of hyperlapses as well, which surprisingly enough will kind of put your entire back on fire at the time, but they look really, really cool. As you can see here, this is just up the entrance path, and then also we go up the main path up to the top height as well. And that kind of wraps up the day. So I hope you took value from this video. If you did, enjoy it, and would like the little voiceover, like the little live commentary, thought I would try it, see how it works, see how it goes. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, would like to see more like it, why not be subscribed? I think it's about 70% of you unfortunately do not subscribe yet, so why don't we change that? That would be great. But thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.